Soul. The soul is a part of man which is little known and only seldom realized. Often those in the depth of some deep sorrow break through the mist of material sense to the recesses of their inmost being. Here they discover the soul, or reality of being. They become soul conscious and find new values, new resources, new and different strength, and an existence of an entirely different nature. The exercise of the soul faculties results in breaking the illusions of sense. All human discords are products of material sense and are experienced through the five physical senses. That is, all mortal inharmonies are seen, heard, felt, tasted, or smelled. Existing only in this material state of consciousness, discord, disease, and so forth, have their being merely as false sense or illusion, though naturally seeming very real to the senses. There are many means of securing temporary relief from erroneous conditions of health, wealth, and other inharmonies of daily existence. Complete and final destruction of error comes only through the achievement and exercise of the faculties of the soul. The soul is that part of man which lies buried deepest within him, and is therefore seldom realized. We use our mathematical faculties and our musical faculties because these lie nearest the surface of our being. Much more than these, even, are our ordinary business faculties, our sense of direction, or even an artistic sense. Artists and authors and skilled musicians go deeper within their being and bring forth the great harmonies of fine music, classical writing, paintings, sculpture, and architecture. Hidden even deeper than these, yet within the reach of our own consciousness, lies the soul and its faculties. These soul powers, when touched by us, come forth from within us and reach every avenue of our daily living, giving inspiration, beauty, peace, joy, and harmony to each moment of our existence, and clothing every event in our experience with love, understanding, success. Those so busy with the pains and the pleasures of sense will not, of course, reach the realm of soul. Throughout the ages, the invitation has been extended to mankind to drink of this fountain of living water, and every generation has produced many men and women who have found eternal youth and peace within themselves. Ever so often one arises who has drunk more deeply at the fount of soul, and these seers have told of the kingdom within and of the life that may be lived through grace when this consciousness is achieved. So many answer that they have great human duties to occupy all their time. Others require so much time for sense pleasures, pastimes, and recreations. Still others are immersed in accomplishing and acquiring. More and more, people are beginning to realize that freedom from fear, insecurity, want, and ill health is not to be found in the material realm. Wars will not end wars. Investments will not ensure security from want. Medicines alleviate pain, but do not produce real health. Some greater power must be tapped to give us the happiness and harmony and peace that is our birthright, than can be found in the human body or thought. This power is available to everyone because it is already a part of our being. In fact, it is the greatest part of our being. As the iceberg reveals only a portion of itself in sight above water, so our human powers of body and mind represent not more than 1/3 of our powers and faculties. The powers of the soul are more real and tangible than any of the material powers of nature or invention. They operate on a higher level of consciousness, but are made evident in so-called human affairs. Soul forces act upon the human body to produce and maintain health and harmony. They touch every avenue of daily existence as protective influences and are the source of infinite supply. The soul-conscious people of this world live an inner life of peace, joy, and dominion, and an outer life in complete harmony with itself, and with all the world of men, animals, and things. They are in tune with their soul powers, and this constitutes their at-one-ment with all creation. Everyone may have access to the soul. It lies deep within the recesses of our own being. Desire for the higher attainments of life is the first requisite, and then a continuous turning within until the goal has been attained. A good start may be made through the realization of the truth that there is more to even human existence than corporeal health and material supply. When we catch a glimpse of the fact that more dollars, homes, or automobiles do not constitute supply, that more travel does not constitute recreation, that absence of illness is not necessarily health, in other words, that my kingdom is not of this world, we are going in the right direction to discover the realm of soul. We all know how to use material force, as when we lift some weight through the strength of our muscles, or exert pressure through arms or legs. We also understand how to exert mental pressure, as in deep thought or through personal will. That there is a soul force we know, and that this soul power can do more for us than all the material and mental power combined is but little suspected. Perhaps one reason for the world's lack of interest in this vast subject is that this great reservoir of power resident in our soul cannot be used for selfish purposes. Think of the enormity of this. A great, marvelous power at hand, and yet it can never be used to serve a selfish end. Herein lies the secret of why so few achieve soul consciousness. We only become aware of the presence of the soul after we have freed ourselves of selfish desires, and in proportion to our desire to serve the interests of mankind do we individualize this infinite power within us. It is right, natural, and normal that we live full, happy, and prosperous lives, but we can do this without taking thought for ourselves, for our supply, or even our health. All of the good necessary to our welfare will be supplied to us in greater abundance than we can accept when we give up the effort and desire to get, achieve, or accomplish, and come more into the consciousness of desiring only to fulfill our destiny on earth. We are here as part of a divine plan. We are mind fulfilling and expressing itself in an individual way. And if we will learn to keep our thought away from ourselves and away from the fear that we will be without place or income or health, and let mind fulfill its destiny through us or as us, we will really find all things added unto us. The Bible is literally true when it says that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and, Son, all that I have is thine. There is no need, therefore, to take any anxious thought for our own well-being. As we forget ourselves and learn to be a state of receptivity, we will find ourselves filled with soul power, soul consciousness, soul resources, and our lives will be filled with the company of soul-filled men and women sharing the joys of their discoveries with us. The mind that was in Christ Jesus is not afar off, nor is it the mind of only a few great religious leaders. The mind that was in Christ Jesus is your mind, and it is ready to impart itself to you as you forget yourself and become receptive to the divine wisdom within you. The resources of soul are waiting at the door of your consciousness, ready to pour forth more than you can accept, but not to satisfy some personal or selfish desire. These false desires are the stumbling blocks to our spiritual development, and we must not think to use our spiritual powers to gain personal and selfish ends. The song of the soul is freedom, joy, and eternal bliss. The song of the soul is love to all mankind. The song of the soul is you. Why are we so slow in gaining our freedom from illness, discord, and other material conditions? It is entirely because of our inability to grasp the great revelation that there is no reality to error. So much attention has been given to faith in God to do something for us, or to faith in a healer or teacher, that we have overlooked the great truth. Error is not real. There is no matter. We are learning from physical scientists, as well as metaphysicians, that what has been termed matter is a misinterpretation of mind. Mind is God, and God is spirit. Therefore, all that exists is spiritual substance, regardless of the name or nature ascribed to it by finite sense. God is the mind of the individual. Therefore, all that can come to us as person, thing, or condition is coming to us as mind, in mind, and through mind. And God, mind, is the soul of every individual. God, principle, is the law of all action. God, spirit, is the substance of all of which we are conscious. Through false education, which constitutes finite sense, we have come to fear certain individuals, things, and conditions, not realizing that as these are coming to us through the avenue of consciousness, they are all God-being, mind-appearing, spirit substance. Material consciousness is the false finite sense which beholds the universe and man as limited, as being both good and evil. Spiritual consciousness is the awareness of the individual as God-being, as having only the mind which is God and the body of spirit. It recognizes the entire universe as mind-appearing and governed by divine principle. Spiritual consciousness is the ability to see beyond the appearance to reality. It is the recognition and realization that, as God is our mind, all that appears to us is in and of God, which is our only consciousness. Spiritual consciousness does not overcome or destroy matter or material conditions, but knows that no such conditions exist which finite sense presents. It translates the appearance for us, revealing the true nature of that which is appearing. Spiritual power emanates from the soul of you and the soul of me. It is impersonal and impartial. Everyone may open the windows of his soul and behold the infinite glories of a world far above the universe of sense. Far greater than anything we have ever seen or heard is the world of the soul, the world that is seen through spiritual sense. We know that unillumined thought beholds the universe as material, whereas the illumined consciousness or soul sense sees and understands the universe as spiritual. There is nothing impractical about the development of our spiritual sense or soul power. This uplifted consciousness enabled Moses to lead his people out of bondage and through the Red Sea into the awareness of abundance. Through Jesus, it healed the multitudes of their diseases, fed the multitudes with actual food, and raised the dead. Through Paul, it lifted a portion of humanity above the deepest sorrows and persecutions into Christ consciousness and spiritual freedom. Spiritual consciousness lifts us above every human form of limitation and permits us to enter a larger sense of life, health, and freedom. Where there is spiritual consciousness, there is no bondage to person, place, nor thing, and there are no limitations to our accomplishments. So far as is known, Jesus never left a written word, and yet his teaching is the foundation of the morals and ethics for much of the world. Many other seers left only the word spoken to their immediate followers, yet by their own power these messages have become living waters through countless ages. The wisdom of the ages, uttered by spiritually illumined men and women who never dreamed that their thoughts would circle the globe and influence the lives and conduct of people is not confined to time or place. The Christ-like thoughts that fill their consciousness go out from them like the ring created by throwing a stone in the water, making an ever-widening circle until it embraces all humanity. Yes, spiritual consciousness is practical. Our desire for affluence must be the desire for the other fellow's affluence before we can experience the grace which is the gift of God. Meditation is the door to the realm of the soul, and inspiration is the way. As we learn to take 5 or 10 minutes each morning, noon, and night, to sit quietly with listening ear, as we turn within ourselves and learn to wait for the still small voice, we acquire the habit of meditation and develop skill in its technique until inspiration possesses us and leads us to the haven of our soul. This is the beginning of our new birth, and here we learn the new tongue of spirit. Life begins to have a new meaning. Meditation. To meditate is to fix the mind upon, think about continuously, contemplate, to engage in continuous and contemplated thought, dwell mentally on anything, ruminate, and cogitate. In the spiritual tongue, meditation is prayer. True prayer or meditation is not a thinking about ourselves or our problems, but rather the contemplation of God and God activities, and the nature of God, and the nature of the world that God created. Everyone should take some time daily to retire to a quiet spot for meditation. During this period, he should turn his thought to God and consider his understanding of God and search out a deeper understanding of the nature of spirit and its formation, and of mind and its infinite manifestation. He should be careful not to take any of his ills or other problems into his meditation. This particular period is set aside, dedicated, and consecrated to thinking about God and God's universe. As God is the mind and soul of every individual, it is possible for all of us to be tuned in to the kingdom of God and receive the divine messages and assurances and benefits of the one infinite love. The grace of God which we receive in these periods of meditation or prayer becomes tangible to us in the fulfilling of our so-called human needs. If we do not open our consciousness to the reception of spiritual understanding, we must not be surprised if we do not experience spiritual good in our daily living. And there is no other way to open our consciousness to the realm of soul than through meditation or prayer, through contemplating the things of God. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. All through the day, our thoughts are centered on the activities of human experience, on family cares and duties, learning a livelihood, on social and community affairs, and sometimes even on greater affairs of state. Is it not natural, then, that at some time during the day or evening we take time off to retire to our inner consciousness, which is the temple of God, and there dwell upon the things of God? Above all, we must develop the sense of receptivity, so that we can become ever more aware of the very presence of God in his holy temple, which is our consciousness. In the secret place of the Most High, which is the Holy of Holies, which is our very own inner consciousness, we receive illumination, guidance, wisdom, and spiritual power. In quietness and confidence shall be my strength. As we learn to listen to the still small voice, the Spirit of God opens our consciousness to the immediate awareness of spiritual good. We are filled with the divine energies of spirit. We are illumined with the light of the soul. We are refreshed with the waters of life and fed with the meat which does not perish. This spiritual food is never rationed to those who learn to meet God within the temple of their being. To receive the grace of God, we must retire from the world of sense. We must learn to silence the material senses and have audience with God. God must become to us a living reality, a divine presence, a Holy Spirit within. And this can only be when we have learned to meditate, pray, contemplate God. Through meditation, we become aware of the presence of the Christ. And this awareness remains with us all day and all night as we go about our human existence. This awareness enters into our every experience and prospers every endeavor. This consciousness of the presence of Christ is a light unto our feet and a guiding star unto our aspirations. It is the presence that goes before us to make the crooked places straight. It is the quality in our consciousness that makes us understood and appreciated by others. On awakening in the morning, and preferably before you get out of bed, turn your thought to the realization that I and my Father are one. That, Son, all that I have is thine. That the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. Then let the meaning of these statements unfold from within your own consciousness. Gain a conviction of your oneness with the Father, with the universal life, the universal mind, the universal consciousness. Feel the infinity of good within you, which is the evidence of your oneness with the infinite source of your being. As soon as you begin to feel a stirring within you, or a sense of peace, or the surge of divine life, then get out of bed and make your physical preparations for the day. Before leaving your home, sit down and ponder your oneness with God. The wave is one with the ocean, indivisible and inseparable from the whole ocean. All that the ocean is, the wave is. And all the power, all the energy, all the strength, all the life, all the substance of the ocean is expressed in every wave. The wave has access to all that lies beneath it, for the wave really is the ocean as the ocean is the wave. Inseparable, indivisible, one. And note here this very important point, that there is no place where one wave comes to an end and the next wave begins, so that the oneness of the wave with the ocean includes the oneness of every wave with every other wave. As a wave is one with the ocean, so you are one with God. Your oneness with the universal life constitutes your oneness with every individual expression of that life. Your oneness with divine mind constitutes your oneness with every idea of mind. As the infinity of God surges through you to bless all with whom you come in contact, remember that the infinity of God is also surging through every other individual on earth to you. No one is sharing anything with you that is of themselves, but all that they have is of the Father. So everything that you have is of the Father. And you are sharing it with all the world. You are one with the Father, with the universal consciousness, and you are one with every spiritual idea of which this consciousness is conscious. This is a tremendous idea if you get it. It means that your interest is the interest of every individual in the world. It means that their interest is your interest. It means that we have no interest apart from each other, even as we have no interest apart from God. It means actually that all that the Father hath is ours, and all that we have is for the benefit of everyone else, as everything that they have is for our benefit, and all for the glory of God. Now this idea must unfold within you in an original way. It must, bit by bit and day by day, unfold in different ways, and always with greater meaning because of the infinity of mind's ideas. You might note how a tree has many branches, and how all of these branches are at one with the trunk of the tree, and therefore with the root of the tree, and that the root of the tree is one with the earth, and is drawing into it all that the earth possesses. And further, that each branch is not only one with the whole tree, but each branch is one with every branch, connected parts of one whole. As you ponder this idea of your oneness with God, and your oneness with every individual spiritual idea, new ideas along this line will unfold to you, new illustrations, original illustrations and symbols. By the time you have concluded this morning meditation, you will find that you will actually feel the presence of God within you. You will actually feel the divine energy of spirit. You will feel the surge of new life within you. And this too will lead on to other thoughts. Whenever you leave one place to go to another place, such as leaving your home for business, or leaving your business for church, or going back to your home, pause for a second to realize that the presence has gone before you to prepare the way, and that that same divine presence remains behind you as a benediction to all who pass that way. At first you may forget to do this many times during the day, but by jogging your memory, you will eventually find that this will become an established activity of your consciousness, and you will never make a move without realizing the divine presence ahead of you and behind you. And in this way, you will find yourself to be the light of the world. One of the subjects near and dear to us these past few years is that of peace. And we can have no faith in any perpetual peace based on whatever human document or organization can be formulated. True, they have their purpose, and they are a necessary step for humans, just as the Ten Commandments were a necessary step until the Sermon on the Mount replaced them with higher visions. You do not need the Ten Commandments, because you need no admonition not to steal or lie or cheat, nor do you need any threat of punishment to keep you honest, clean, and pure. But the Ten Commandments are necessary to those who have not yet learned righteousness for righteousness' sake. In the same way, the world is greatly in need of some kind of a human organization and some kind of human document to keep some form or some measure of peace in the world. But the real peace, the lasting peace, will only come as it has come to you individually, through the realization that you do not need anything that the other fellow has, and therefore there is nothing to war about. All that the Father hath is yours. What can you want besides that? As a matter of fact, as joint heir with Christ in God, you could feed 5,000 any day and every day without ever taking thought as to whence it should come. When all mankind comes into this consciousness of its true identity, there will be no wars, no competition, no strife. As you gain the full consciousness of your true identity, you show it forth in a greater sense of harmony, health, and success. And one by one, you attract others who are seeking the same way. In this way, all men will ultimately be brought into the kingdom of heaven. Prayer. Ye ask and receive not, because ye ask amiss, says the Apostle James. Have you ever thought of this when you have prayed for some time and then found no answer to your prayer? Ye ask amiss. There is a reason. Prayer, when based on the belief that there is a need unfilled, a desire unsatisfied, is never in accord with true scientific prayer. A prayer for God to do something, send something, provide or heal, is equally without power. It is sometimes believed that God requires a channel through which to fulfill our prayer. And this leads us to look outside ourselves for the answer. We may believe that supply can come to us, and therefore we watch for the person or position through which it is to come. We may be depending on a healer or teacher as the channel through which the healing is to come. Ye ask amiss. Any belief that that which we are seeking is anywhere but within us, within our very own consciousness, is the barrier separating us in belief from our harmony. True prayer is never addressed to a being outside ourselves, nor does true prayer expect anything from outside our own being. The kingdom of God is within you, and all good must be sought there. Recognizing God to be the reality of our being, we know that all good is inherent in that being, your being and mine. God is the substance of our being, and therefore we are eternal and harmonious. God is life, and this life is self-sustained. He is our soul. We are pure and immortal. God is the mind of the individual, and this constitutes the intelligence of our being. Rightly speaking, there is not God and you, but God is ever manifest as you. And this is the oneness which assures you of infinite good. God is the life, mind, body, and substance of individual being, and therefore nothing can be added to any individual. And true prayer is the constant recognition of this truth. Conscious awareness of our true being, of the infinite nature and character of our only being. This, too, is prayer. In this consciousness, instead of seeking, asking, waiting in prayer, we turn our thought inward and listen for the still small voice, which assures us that even before we ask, our Father knew and fulfilled the need. Here is the great secret of prayer, that God is all in all, and God is forever manifested. There is no unmanifested good for God. That which we seem to be seeking is ever present within us and already manifested, and we need to know this truth. All good already is and is forever manifested. The recognition of this truth is answered prayer. Our health, wealth, employment, home, harmony, and so forth are then not dependent on some far-off God, are never dependent on a channel or person or place, but are eternally at hand, omnipresent within our very consciousness. And the recognition of this fact is answered prayer. I and my Father are one, and this accounts for the completeness of individual being. Properly speaking, there is not God and you. It is impossible to pray aright unless this truth is understood. Prayer becomes but blind faith or belief rather than understanding when we do not know our real relationship with deity. It is our conscious awareness of the oneness of being, the oneness of life, mind, truth, love, that results in answered prayer. It is the constant recognition of our life, our mind, our substance and activity as a manifestation of God being that constitutes true prayer. As we identify this God being as the only reality of our individual being, we are able to comprehend ourselves as the fulfillment of God, as the completeness and the perfection of being, all-inclusive, immortal, and divine. The recognition of the divinity of our individual being, embracing and including the allness of God, is true prayer, which is ever answered prayer. The correction of the belief that we are ever separate or apart from our good is the essence of true prayer. That which I am seeking, I am. Whatever it is of good that I have believed to be separate from me is in fact a constituted part of my being. I include, embody, and embrace within myself, within my consciousness, the reality of God, which forms the infinity of health, wealth, and harmony of my being. The conscious awareness of this truth is true prayer. Despite the allness of God, expressed as perfect individual being, there constantly arises in human experience those ills which call forth our understanding of prayer. What is the nature of error, sin, and disease? How can such things be, and God be all in all? Such things cannot be, and are not, despite the appearance of pain and discord and sorrow. The Bible reveals to us the basic truth of being, namely, that God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And in this all good that God made, there is nothing that defileth or maketh a lie. And there is no other creative principle. It becomes clear then that that which is appearing as error, sin, disease, pain, and discord is illusion, mirage, nothingness. Let us then, as part of our prayer, remember that God made, evolved, all that was made. And in this universe of God, there is only the all-presence and all-power of God, divine love. And that therefore that which at the moment appears to us as error is a full sense of reality. There comes a time in our experience when spiritual inspiration reveals to individual consciousness a state of being free of mortal conditions and beliefs. Then we no longer live a life of mental affirmations and denials, but rather receive constant unfoldments of truth from mind. Sometimes this comes to us through no other channel than our own thought. It may come through a book or lecture or a service imparted by divine consciousness. Regardless of the seeming channel through which it may come, it is mind revealing itself to individual consciousness. As we become more and more consciously aware of our oneness with the universal or Christ mind, whatever desires or needs come to us bring with them their fulfillment of every righteous thought and wish. Is it not clear then that our oneness with mind, being established in the beginning through the relationship forever existing between God and his manifested being, it requires no conscious effort to bring about or maintain? The awareness of this truth is the connecting link with divine consciousness. To many, prayer means supplication and petition to a God in a place called heaven. That this prayer has resulted so universally in failure to attain its ends must prove that this is not prayer, and that the God prayed to is not there listening. Human thought eventually realized the lack of answer to such prayers and turned to a search for the true God and the right concept of prayer. This led to a revelation of truth as understood and practiced by Christ Jesus and many earlier revelators. Here we learn that the kingdom of God is within you, and therefore prayer must be directed within, to that point in consciousness where the universal life, God, becomes individualized as you or as me. We learn that God created, evolved the world in the beginning, and that it was good. Being good, the universe must inevitably be complete, harmonious, and perfect, so that instead of pleading for good, our prayer becomes the realization of the omnipresence of good, and so the higher concept reveals prayer as the affirmation of good and the denial of the existence of error as reality. When the prayer of affirmation results in the use of formulas, it has a tendency to revert to old-fashioned faith prayer, and thereby loses potency. When, however, one's prayer consists of spontaneous and sincere affirmations of the infinity of God and of the harmony and perfection of His manifestation, one is indeed nearing the absolute of prayer, which is communion with God. Before our enlightenment in truth, we prayed for things and persons. We sought to gain some personal end. With his great vision, Emerson wrote, "Prayer that craves a particular commodity, anything less than all good, is vicious." Then this wise man defines prayer for us. Prayer is the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view. It is the soliloquy of a beholding and jubilant soul. It is the Spirit of God pronouncing His works good. As soon as the man is one with God, he will not beg. Prayer must not be understood as going to God for something, for, as Emerson continues, prayer as a means to effect a private end is meanness and theft. Well, now we know what prayer is not, and have glimpsed that prayer is the union of ourself, the individual soul, with God, the universal soul. Actually, the individual soul and the universal soul are not two, but one. But the conscious awareness of this truth constitutes the union or oneness which is true prayer. Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world." And this we must remember when we pray. To go to God carrying some recollection, some demand, some desire of this world must end fruitlessly. When we enter our sanctuary of spirit, we must leave outside all worldly wishes, needs, and lacks. We must drop this world and go to God with but one idea: communion with God, union or oneness with God. We must not pray to gain, to have changed or corrected. Prayer, which is conscious oneness with God, always results in bringing forth harmony, peace, joy, success. These are the added things. It is not that spirit produces or heals or corrects matter or the physical universe, but that we rise higher in consciousness to where there is less matter and therefore less discord, inharmony, disease, or lack. God is true prayer. It is the unfoldment in individual consciousness of His presence and power. And it makes you every whit whole. Communion with God is in reality listening for the still small voice. In this communion or prayer, no words pass from you to God, but the consciousness of the presence of God is realized as the impartation of truth and love comes from God within to you. It is a holy state of being and never leaves us where it finds us. Metaphysical healing. Healings are always in proportion to our understanding of the truth about God, man, idea, body. Healing has nothing to do with someone out there called a patient. When anyone asks for spiritual help or healing, that ends their part in what follows until they acknowledge their so-called healing. We are not concerned with the so-called patient, the claim, the cause of the illness, or its nature, nor with his sins or fears. We are now concerned only with the truth of being, the truth of God, man, idea, body. The activity of this truth in our consciousness is the Christ, Savior, or healing influence. Failure to heal is the result of much misknowledge of the truth of God, man, idea, body. And this misknowledge stems primarily from orthodox religious beliefs which have not been rooted out of our thought. Few realize to what extent they are blinded by superstitious orthodoxy. There is only one answer to the question, what is God? And that answer is, I am. God is the mind, the life of the individual. Any mental hedging or inner reservation on this subject will result in ultimate failure. There is but one universal I, whether it is being spoken by Jesus Christ or John Smith. When Jesus revealed, He that seeth me, seeth him that sent me, He was revealing a universal truth or principle. There must be no quibbling about this. You either understand this truth or you do not. And if you do not, there is no need for you to seek any further reason for failure to heal. The revelation of Jesus the Christ is clear. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Unless you can accept this as a principle, therefore as the truth about you and about every individual, you have no foundation upon which to stand. The truth is that God is the mind and life of the individual. God is the only I. Next comes the question, what is man? And the answer is that man is idea, body, manifestation. My body is idea or manifestation. Likewise, my business, home, wealth. These exist as idea or manifestation, expression, reflection. For this reason, and for no other, my body is the exact image and likeness of my consciousness, and reflects or expresses the qualities, character, and nature of my own consciousness of existence. So far, then, we understand that I am God, that God is the mind and life of the individual, that my body exists as the idea of God. God, or I am, is universal, infinite, omnipotent, and omnipresent. Therefore, the idea body is equally indestructible, imperishable, eternal. It was never born and will never die. I shall never be without the conscious awareness of my body. Therefore, I shall never be without my body. When we look out upon the world with our eyes, we are not beholding our bodies. We are not seeing this infinite divine idea body. We are beholding a more or less universal concept of the idea. As we see a healthy body, a beautiful flower or tree, we are seeing a good concept of the idea body, flower, tree. When we see an aging, ailing body, or withered flower or decaying tree, we are beholding an erroneous concept of the divine idea. As we improve our concepts of idea, body, manifestation, we term this improving of concepts healing. Actually, nothing has happened to the so-called patient or his body. The change has come in the individual's consciousness and becomes visible as improved belief or healing. For this reason, the healer alone must accept responsibility for healing and never try to shift the blame for non-healing onto the person who asked for help. That individual is I am, life, truth, and love, and his body exists as perfect, spiritual, eternal, harmonious idea, subject only to the laws of principle, mind, soul, spirit. And it is our privilege, duty, and responsibility to know this truth. And the truth will make free every person who turns to us. As individual, infinite, spiritual consciousness, I embody my universe. I embody or include the idea of body, home, activity, income, health, wealth, companionship. And these are subject only to spiritual law and life. The body is not self-acting. It is governed harmoniously by spiritual power. When the body appears to be discordant, inactive, overactive, changing, paining, it is always the belief that the body is self-acting, that it of itself has the power to move or not to move, to ache, pain, sicken, or die. This is not true. The body is not self-acting. It has no intelligence or activity of its own. All action is mind action, therefore omnipotent good action. When we know this truth, the body responds to this knowing or understanding of truth. No change then takes place in the body, because the error never was there. It is entirely exchanging a concept for the truth that already is, always has been, and ever will be. Remember, there is no patient out there, and no body out there to be healed, improved, or corrected. Always it is a false concept or belief to be corrected in individual thought. When we begin to understand that the body is not self-acting, that it responds only to the stimulus of mind, we can disregard so-called inharmonious bodily conditions and abide in the truth that life is forever expressing itself harmoniously, perfectly, and eternally as the divine idea body. The understanding that I am individual, infinite, spiritual consciousness, embodying every right idea and governing them harmoniously, brings forth health, harmony, home, employment, recognition, peace, joy, and dominion. The understanding that this is true of every individual dispels the illusion of hate, enmity, opposition, and so forth. This also makes of you a practitioner, a healer, a teacher, whether or not professionally engaged in the work. We come now to face our orthodox superstitions and to leave them. Was Jesus sent into the world by God to save it from sin, disease, or slavery? No. God, the infinite principle, life, truth, and life, knows no error, no evil, no sin, and no sinner. Jesus so clearly apprehended this truth that this apprehension became the Savior, healer, teacher, even as it will in you. The activity of truth in individual consciousness is the only Christ. No person is ever the Christ. The activity of truth in individual consciousness constitutes the only Christ, the ever-present Christ who was before Abraham. The activity of truth in your consciousness is the Christ of you. The activity of truth in the consciousness of Buddha revealed the nature of sin, disease, and death to be illusion or mirage. The activity of truth in the consciousness of Jesus Christ revealed the nothingness of matter. It unfolded as a healing consciousness before which sin and disease disappeared and death was overcome. Every erroneous concept, whether of body or business, health or church, must disappear, as the right idea of these appear in individual and collective consciousness. What about Immaculate Conception or spiritual birth? The Immaculate Conception or spiritual birth is the dawning in individual consciousness of the activity of truth or Christ's idea. It appeared in Jesus as the revelation that I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the resurrection and the life. He that seeth me, seeth him that sent me. The activity of truth in my consciousness, the Christ of me, is revealing that I am individual, infinite, spiritual consciousness, embodying my universe, including my body, my health, wealth, practice, income, home, companionship, eternality, and immortality. Let the activity of truth in your consciousness be your first and last and only concern. The Christ of you will also reveal itself in an individual, infinite way. There is no evil. Let us therefore stop the resistance to the particular discord or inharmony of human existence which now confronts us. These apparent discords will disappear as we are able to cease our resistance to them. We are able to do this only in proportion to our realization of the spiritual nature of the universe. Since this is true, it is evident that neither heaven nor earth can contain error of any nature, and therefore the unillumined human thought is seeing error in the very place where God shines through, discord where harmony is, hate where love abounds, fear where confidence really is. The work on which we have embarked is the realization that we are individual, infinite spiritual consciousness embodying within ourselves all good. This is the song we will sing, the sermon we will preach, the lesson we will teach, and until realization comes, this is our theme, our motif. It is a silver cord of truth running through every message.